it is mainly and precisely first and foremost that it is so present in the lives of this growing generation. Demographically, we're told after Uganda, Ethiopia would be the country which has 62% of its population under the age of 26. This is a very huge number of young people. Therefore, I can imagine, without even reading statistics, how many could be affected, directly and indirectly. And therefore, this moves me into entering in the world of the youth, for it was something I never knew in my own time. And it is something they know so very well. And so I tried to sit with them and design things with them, how to go about it. So some of the things we do is enter, understand the whole reality of human life, sexuality, and in sexuality, HIV and AIDS. And this has been very beneficial, and since it was not a subject separate from the reality of life, people accept it to come in contact with it more and more. And in the past 10 years, I have seen a difference of the development of programs. 10 years ago, 7 years ago, we would develop programs of awareness with doctors, with senders, with NGOs, with theologians, information of every kind, pamphlets, films, etc. Now that is not it. Now it's more and more, do we know anybody who is affected by that? Could we help that body? Can he or she be a member of our association? Can we go beyond that and create a group of solidarity with HIV and AIDS? Can we look for the shut-ins, those who are very sick and who are not perhaps able to come out, or those who are completely anonymous, who don't want to be seen? We're heading into a relationship of this unknown world, and to bring them out on their own terms. We just make ourselves available to give friendship, understanding, solidarity, and we take that back to the larger student population to make them more aware of what is happening. In the past, not many have come out. In the past 10 years, I only had 2 experiences. The first is a young mother, and the second is a student who was in a very advanced stage. So the first case, she came along to us from another church, the Orthodox Church, where she felt she was not accepted and understood. And the youth brought her in to the classroom to speak about her life. And a group developed around her, and she became our tool to go from parish to school to colleges for about 3 years, using her to speak about how she got contracted the virus, and that she actually discovered after her husband died, and that her baby was infected, and so was she, but her 2 other children were quite normal. And she really became a friend, and everybody became her friend, and she gave lessons.
Which ones?
Mainly, the first thing is, it is not wrong to be sick once it has happened. Please. That's the first thing. The second is, relationship, love, respect does wonders. She's saying more important than the tablets. Accepting them. And so without using the big words, stigma and discrimination, without even developing these vocabularies, she was simply saying, why can't we just be looked at as somebody who has a blood pressure? Yeah. Something like that. And she brought it home, and then her house became a meeting point. Especially on holidays, Christmas. And most of the students who are from the villages and who wouldn't go home would think of her and would visit her, would bring sugar, tea, things, and biscuits for her kids. They would have a nice time with her. I brought her to the Conference of Bishops when they asked, how does one write a pastoral letter, the letter you refer to. I think it was instigated by her when I was asked to speak on what is the pastoral care for people living with the virus. Instead of talking about it, I brought her in, and she, being unorthodox, spoke to the Conference of Catholic Bishops, and they listened with care and attention. and with tears, actually, and the way she spoke. And one of the key points was this, that when her mom died, the greatest and most important person in her life, when she died, she lost all support. It is that time she was screaming for help, and she didn't get any. It was a Catholic youth who found her, and he alerted his parish council. And it was through him that she met us. And then she's saying, look, I'm an Orthodox and I was rejected. I couldn't even bury my church in our parish grounds. It was youth I didn't know who helped me. So pastoral was a definition they got right there. Yeah. That's how it began, with care, attention, yes. So you see, let me talk about the theological subjects I teach, or I taught. 2 occasions. One will be a spirituality of priests. Another one will be a scripture. So on the spirituality of priest, or the priesthood, what is priesthood eventually is to rediscover Jesus and what is meant through him, the service of priesthood. And once coming to the person of Jesus who accepted precisely the downtrodden, he began his mission by accepting it already to work for the rejected, completely marginalized, those with no humanity given to them. That was what he was addressing. Already his priesthood was there, functioning. And so to come to the seminarians, we say the integral part of the mission of the priesthood is to bring the gospel to where it is actually needed, you know. And one area is this pandemic. Not only the fact that they are medically to be helped, which of course they could with the state, with so many other organizations, we could help them get. But the second aspect, the human dimension, whether they are Muslims, Orthodox, or traditional religions, as long as they are human beings, we must go to them with that humanity of Jesus. And so beginning with that, then we talk about that need. And the second is the whole area of sexuality. So not to dissociate it from our understanding of what human life is, human sexuality is, and then therefore we touch on HIV and AIDS. Now as a seminarian, and I always give them an example, look at you seminarians, your age group that are university students. Somebody goes to the university, specializes 5 to 6 years, and he's a doctor and working, and engineering is working, nurse, social worker, etc. They are out there working with the reality of life, from the economic, the political, the social, and then they will be in touch with their neighbors and relatives of HIV and AIDS. And so they cannot exclude that by definition. So you, who officially say, I want to serve humanity, imagine how much more should you be concerned? More. And therefore, and then I show them what university students are doing, they are still doing, collecting clothing every 3 months and taking it to different villages, like we did it 2 weeks ago on a Sunday morning. Going to the kids, orphans. Now I have just discovered that grandmothers who took over orphans 10 years ago, that 10 years ago the guy was 8 years old, now he's 18, and he has left house, and grandma is alone. That reality is something new now. You will find those people who have helped HIV victims so closely as grandmothers are now left alone by themselves. So seminarians should look. So a theological discourse has to be a reflection, a thinking, an articulation of what matters to humanity. In this case it could be health, in the other case it could be social justice, in another case it will be aesthetics, beauty, ecology, etc. The seminarians, they will not get it unless you bring a person, unless you bring persons, testimonies, stories, reality, people with whom they can dialogue and relate to, affectively, intellectually, morally, and spiritually. You know, the church truly has been there in history, and it has also been the church of the poor. And if we look at our own Ethiopian Orthodox Church, where are the poor? They are around the church, physically even. They stay there, they sleep there sometimes. They beg there. And so the church has been a place where people felt accepted, not only as sinners but as physically disabled and socially also excluded. But they find acceptance around the church. And one thing is, the poor help the poorer. The poor help the poorer. There is generosity. And this is the HIV sensitive church hooks itself to the generosity which is already there. The only thing it needs is make sure that there is a clarification of things. Say that people understand somebody who is limping and has lost his leg. They sympathize. They sympathize very easily for someone who has lost his sight. And in both cases, they might not see it as a punishment of God. But when it comes to HIV and AIDS, it's a stigmatized world.
Still there.
Still there. And that's where the priest or the teachers help clarify. This man or this woman is not cursed by God. It is exactly the same type of disadvantage he is in, like the others who are also poor. Please open up your heart and your mind and listen to his story and do what you can. And it comes. It comes slowly, but it's a point of conversion, that it is not a punishment of God. And I have, happily, you hear it very often now, it has not been part of the homilies or sermons or teaching of church members in loudspeakers that HIV is a curse of God. That you no longer hear that now, or you no longer read it now. There was about 10, 12 years ago, here and there. Now I don't see it, I don't hear it. So there is a change. What the international level is, please help all those grassroots groups who attend physically and in good neighborliness the sick. And they don't need to go to clinics as such and to die there. They could be in their homes. So home care is something the local church is doing very well. And it's not something that appears in statistics, but the majority are there. And that's where I would ask the richer or the affluent societies to look into. As they go on doing reflections and studies and scientific researches on HIV and AIDS, and we see that being done and we see the result, the antiretrovirals, all the medical help that is being given. But the other side is also entering the lives of people who are actually helping with their love, care, attention, those who are in need of that. That perhaps should be attended to more.